Hello, and welcome to the next installment of Keeping the Holidays Holy. We are rapidly approaching Lent, and I thought it's good to think about how to approach Lent with your children and get them ready for the next 40 days. As you might know, Mardi Gras is coming up, and Mardi Gras, I believe, not being a French scholar, would be Fat Tuesday. The days preceding Lent were days of carnival, where people would celebrate, often too much. And as a way of preparing for Lent, I suppose, in Paris they used to parade an ox through the streets just to remind people that you can't eat meat. Well, the time before Ash Wednesday is called Shrove Tuesday. Well, or the Monday before that is a day of penance, ideally, where people would go to confession. And then, of course, they'd celebrate over the top. Frequently during Carnival, there would be parishes that would have exposition of the Blessed Sacrament in order to more or less atone for the sins that are committed during that time of excess. But mothers, I'm talking to you. You're not going to be going to celebrate too much the next couple of days, I don't suppose. If you have a chance to think about what you want to do for Lent, that's very, very helpful. What sort of offerings do you want to make? Also, it's good to think about what do your kids need to focus on during Lent. Do not bother thinking about what your husbands should be doing for Lent. That's career limiting. Just think, what do they need to do? What sort of spiritual and material sacrifices could they make during the next 40 days? And I put spiritual and material because it's nice to think of both. All right, let's just jump in. Okay, moms, so I need you to think about what your kids need to do during Lent. Obviously, first of all, you think about yourself. Think about how you want to live Lent, what goals you have. And it shouldn't just be weight loss, but it should be, how can I improve spiritually? How can I improve materially, physically? So if you're thinking about your kids, you think, each child is different. Each child needs something, whether it's a little bit more charity, a little bit more piety. You'll understand it then when you speak to them, and you can encourage them to make sacrifices that will help them grow in the areas that they need. Maybe they're going to, if there's something positive, something concrete that they can physically do, that's all the better. For instance, resolve to make your bed every morning and do a morning offering. Those two things can be heroic for 40 days, and then they'll be in a habit of it. Or don't buy yourself any treats during the week and add up all the money you've saved by not buying those treats and put it in the collection basket on Sunday. I know somebody who decided she would not pick a fight with her brother during all of Lent. And you know what she learned at the end of Lent? She didn't have any fights with her brother. She had always thought that he started the fights, but apparently she did. It's also good to think about a family offering that everyone can pitch in and participate in during Lent. Perhaps it would be, we're not going to eat meat all during Lent, or no desserts after supper. Well, you can have it for breakfast and lunch, but nothing for supper. Avoiding your customary Saturday morning donuts might be a good offering. And then spiritually, they could perhaps attend daily Mass 1 or 2 or 5 extra days a week. Who knows? It's also nice to have bedtime stories that have a little bit more depth to them. Maybe you do it all the time anyway, but stories about Jesus, stories about the saints, stories about heroic sacrifices. The purpose of the mortifications is simply to remind the children to pray more, live in the presence of God, think about Him, ask Him for His help, and try to be generous with our Lord. During Lent, it's important to grow deeper, have a change of heart. So the best way to do that is probably to get into a habit of going to confession. And once again, it's wonderful if you can start with your children when they're very young, because then it's fairly easy. It gets a lot more difficult when they get to be teenagers. But if they're in a habit of going to confession and they realize that they feel better after confession, you'll make great strides. Now, the Lent begins with Ash Wednesday, and the ashes on our forehead, it is a sacramental that should remind us of death and the passing of this time on this planet. We should have time for penance. We should have time for contrition during the time of Lent. Customarily, the ashes are the burned up ashes from the palms from the previous Palm Sunday. That's just an interesting fact for the kids to know sometime. At any rate, I hope you have a wonderful Lent. I hope you all go deeper in your faith and you help your children to get closer to God. Thank you.